Welcome to the Kim B. Davis Show. Here we'll talk to the leaders in technology, culture, business, and the arts. We'll cover politics, advocacy, motherhood, writing, mental health, and mostly we'll focus on hope. Join Kim B. Davis, author, playwright, radio personality, event consultant, professional speaker on the Kim B. Davis Show. Welcome to the Kim B. Davis Show. I'm your host, Kim B. Davis, and this evening we have Phette Hollins. She is an author, filmmaker, and blogger, and tonight she's going to talk to us about her new show called Happiness Ain't Everything. And because this is Women's History Month, we are still celebrating women everything. And Phette, are you sure that happiness ain't everything? Because, you know, it seems like it could be.
Listen, believe me, I believe happiness is everything, but the title of the show is named that because somebody actually made that statement to me, and I thought it was the most ridiculous, asinine, dumbest response ever. So it's really just a play on that. But I do believe happiness is everything.
So, you know, I'm messing with you. So good evening and welcome to the show. So first, before we get into the show, you have written books, you have a blog, you've done other movies. So you got to tell us all about that first. And then let's go into Happiness Ain't Everything.
You want to talk about the other movies?
Yeah.
So yeah, I have two short films and a few like skits, and I don't even know what to call them, little vignettes, because they're short. So the first short is like 7 minutes long. The second one is about 13 minutes, 17 minutes long. So shorts is, you know, that's pretty much my lane. But yeah, I just mainly just do things as a creative outlet. So mainly like things that have gone on with me or something that I'm going through. I just pretty much just transmute that energy and then turn them into creative projects, because I can't use my anger and go out there and just be beating up and killing and shooting up folks. So I take that energy and put them into projects. That's what I do.
So I gotta stop you.
For the most part.
I gotta stop you. Because, you know, we talk about popular and I don't want to minimize this, but, you know, it was a horrible thing that happened in Atlanta. Was it last night, where the guy shot 6 Asian people? And I hate to say Asian people because, you know, you shouldn't. I don't know what their their ethnicities were, but I believe they were Korean and something else. And the police chief said, well, you know, he was having a really bad day. And so when you said that, I was just like, but you recognize that when you have a bad day, that you don't just go out and shoot people. So I'm just trying to make sure, because
you really look,
because I can't wrap my brain around it.
See, I heard that something went on in Atlanta, but I didn't know exactly what. But I saw people was marking themselves safe in Atlanta. Yes. So I'm just like, oh my goodness, what happened when Atlanta? Because if I don't go, because I don't watch the news, I will scroll like on Facebook or something like that to get some news, or I got other people that will come to me and tell me what's going on in the world. But so I knew that something went on, but I didn't know that. But yes, because we do all have bad days. Yeah. And that's the issue, is that a lot of us don't know how to regulate our emotions. So we take that energy and do bad things, horrible things, negative things with it. So to stop myself from doing that, because I feel like we all have the potential to go out there and shoot up folks too. If we don't properly regulate our emotions. But I choose to write them out and do like kind of like bad stuff with characters sometimes.
Okay.
Which you know what I mean? This is why I really like horror. When we talked about horror and all that kind of stuff, it's like, yeah, you can get some of that energy out in that. So that's why I feel like that would be my lane eventually. But so yeah, this is why I have like shorts and skits, and to pretty much convey the message. Well, by also saying like, hey, you can handle things in this way without having to go so far to the left.
Now, one of your movies, correct me if I'm wrong, was it showing on BET?
No, I
Okay,
wish.
I'm sorry. Wait, I
Oh
thought
no,
something
it
in.
was no, it was. Listen, speak it. It was on this black owned station called the Jam
Okay,
Network.
okay.
Yep.
And what's the name of the movie?
So that one was called 7 Whole Days. It was about a young couple who get tested for HIV and one of them tests positive. So it's basically just like, what would you do if the person you was with tested positive? Would you stay or would you go? So that was loosely based on a true
Yes.
story.
And we're going to talk about that
Yeah.
because a lot of your stories are very much true to life, which I like that because it makes them very relatable. Now tell us about your books.
Let me see. Okay, so the first book is a book of short stories. So it's 3 short stories. And again, I was using it as an outlet because at the time I was unhappily married and just had all this energy that I need to get out. I'm like, what do I do with myself? Right. But it was just mainly because I had a whole lot of healing work to do. So I was just stuck, didn't really know who I was. I was just in this unhappy marriage. So it's a book of 3 short stories. One of the first story is called Sex Messaging. Well, it was called Sex and Messaging, but when I did adapt it into a
Mm.
film that almost got made, but that was the one I don't know if I told you about, somebody
Yes, we.
still in my project.
Mhm.
Yeah. So when it was in the book version, it's called Sex and Messaging because it's called SNM because it's about a bored housewife who starts this cyber affair with a married man.
Okay.
Again, so because that's what's happening. That was like the beginning of Facebook and Messenger, and back when it's like Yahoo, Messenger and all of that, and they started this online affair, and yeah, so that's what one story is about, and the other two are just mainly stories about women and their sexuality and just coming into themselves and figuring out who they are. So that's the first book. The second book was another story that was like true to life. It was about when I first moved to Georgia in my 20s, and it listen, it was a whole mess. So that story is that book is called Innocence GA. So it was about me moving in with these people that I basically pretty much didn't even know, but since I was just trying to find myself. So it was a lot of partying. It was a lot of drugs, not a lot of drugs on my end, but a lot of drugs involved and some just felonious stuff, some scandalous cheating and fraud. It was just a whole lot. So of course I embellished a lot of it, but for the most part, you just won't know what's true and what's not. So that was just really
Mhm.
pretty much just my life in Georgia. And the third book is so the first two are fiction, and the third book, loosely based on real events. And the third book was somewhat of a memoir called "Cut Soul Ties and Make Peace." Cut soul ties and make peace about this unhealthy soul tie that I had to this guy from like my early 20s all the way through my 30s. So we were like childhood friends, and then we were best friends, and then turned into lovers. But it was like an unhealthy soul tie. So talking about how to break through that, because I found that a lot of women kind of be tied to these guys when we don't really have no business being tied to these people. So just
Mhm.
a book about that on how to break the unhealthy soul tie. So that's the 3 books that I have so far.
Excellent. And then you have a podcast. Tell us about that.
I do. So I have a podcast called Journey to Becoming. It's a memoir podcast where I pretty much just share stuff that's going on with me. Because the reason why everything just seems like it's based on like my events and my experiences is because I feel like that is what my life purpose is. So I am here to actually share my stories of like healing and getting unstuck so I can help somebody else get through it. So sharing what I've been through to help people get through. And I didn't realize that until like maybe a few years ago that yeah, I go through these like little struggles, like
Mhm.
relationship struggles, and I'm to get the lessons from it and to turn my pain into purpose. So that's pretty much that's what I do. So that's what my podcast is about. I'm learning all of the bullshit that I was taught about life, love, money, all of that, and learning how to live on purpose with intention and be in alignment. So that's what the podcast is about.
Which coincides with your books, which coincides with the vignettes and the two movies that you do, and now with this new series. So tell us all about Happiness Ain't Everything, because you had me chuckle a couple of times. I was watching, I was like, oh yeah, Fiat, I'm not mad at you. Look at this.
That is so funny. So okay, so you watched some episodes?
I did.
Did you watch the episode?
The first, I watched the
That's cool.
first two or three. First two or three. And then I got to get back to it. I got busy and I got to get back to it.
Gotcha. So yeah, Happiness Ain't Everything was birthed out of, okay, so like about 5, maybe almost 6 years ago. So at the time I was involved with this married man. So it's like, yeah,
That's where that
again,
character
I got to
came
share my
from.
story. See, I'm telling you, it's all, I can't make this stuff up. So it's like, I make things loosely based because I don't want people to be thinking like, oh, this is not believable. This is far. And it's like, no, this stuff actually happened. So at the time, again, not one of my proudest moments, but this was birthed out of that. I was involved with this married man, and that actually the scene for the first episode, it was supposed to be just a short film, and that's why that one is much longer than the other episodes. So that one is about maybe like 17 minutes because I was just making it a short film. And this young lady who was for real me in real life, because at the time I'm just lost, didn't know myself, didn't have didn't really know my worth, just out here because it was shortly after like my mom's death. So it was a whole lot going on at that time. So I was involved with this married man or whatever. And I was just like, what is this? What are we doing? So that scene that's in that actually like happened. Like, what are you doing? Why are you here? Just asking like, what's going on? And he was just like, I just like spending time with you. The same line. I was just like, that's just BS. Because by this time, this was at the end when I knew that I deserved more. Do you know what I mean? And his response was, happiness ain't everything. Because I'm just like, what about your wife? What about her happiness? What about? And his response was, happiness ain't everything. And I was just like, what? Like, who says that? Like, that's dumb. And
More
he gave
people
this
than you
whole,
know.
because he was that really more people don't believe that happiness is everything.
You know what? And I'm sorry I interrupted you because gotta let you finish. But I've heard that, not necessarily said that way, but I've heard it
Oh
said
wow.
from people who will say happiness is not for me. So I give it to other people because I can't find it. I've heard that from several people.
Oh,
So as you were
stop
saying it,
it.
I'm
You
remembering
know
that scene.
what?
hmm
Yeah. That, see, the way you said that, exactly, that's what his rationalization was. He's like, he works, several jobs, make sure he keeps food on the table, keeps the bills paid, make sure, his daughter is good. So that's when I said, so you care about everybody else's happiness, just not your own. And I just never heard it before. And I just really felt like it was a point where um, he was lost he was lost in some ways too. But that he got his own journey. He needed to just figure that out. So anyway, that's what it was birthed out of. I was just doing this little short because, again, just expressing myself because I feel like it's healing for me. So that's my way of healing, is that I write. And so then I get these stories out because I feel like other people can gain something from it, even if it's only one person. So that's what it's initially about. A woman who realizes her worth and she gets out of this, this affair. But it received such good feedback, I was asked if I could extend it and make it a web series. So that's where I'm
And,
at with it now. So it's going to be
and
an
it's
8-part web series.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Oh, That's what I'm saying. My connections is like, oh, your internet is unstable. It's like, what?
I know. You went out a
Okay.
little bit.
What?
You said 8-part web series?
Yep. So it turned into an 8-part series. So it's 5 done now. So I have 3 more left.
Okay. So I'm down 2 that I have to catch up. Um, I find that it was very interesting because you had women at different points in their life. You had the one woman who was all about the guy, he just needs to wine and dine me and take care of me. And I was like, oh, yeah, we all know people like that. Always talking game, talking
Right.
smack, and don't always seem to find what they're looking for. They always manage to get, the material stuff, the expensive bags, the vacations, you
Mm,
know, the expensive gifts, but not the longevity that they are looking for. But I think the
right.
woman, the character that I most related to was the one who was having the affair. Because I was like, why are you having an affair? And it was like she was trying to justify it for herself. And then you had other characters who were sitting there like, I deserve to be happy. And I'm like, this is real because women, so, on social media, I'm in a few different groups. Because I'm married, I'm in a Melanin Wives group, and there's all
Mm-hmm.
kinds of relationship advice. And then there are a couple Black women groups that I'm in. And the issues that plague relationships, whether you're married or not, for example, if you're married, a lot of the women will say, girl, let me tell you, I got to bring this situation to you. So these are 2 true cases. One, and they are doozies. One, the
Uh-oh.
husband, the husband had a child with another woman before they got married. The woman that is the child's mother keeps messing with the current wife and keeps acting like, well, you can't go over there. I don't want you around. She's like, girl, if you don't go get your whole life, this is my husband. This is
Right.
our house.
What?
I'm not going anywhere. Then I'm gonna tell you
Hello.
this where
It's like,
but this
what do you
other
want
one,
me?
I remember I gave the lady some advice and she didn't like what I said, which is fine. She was just like, I'm not trying to be nice. I said, okay, well, you gonna always have problems. She
Uh-oh.
sent her and her husband, their daughter, to her husband's mother's house. So this is the child's grandmother. The wife wears her hair natural.
Mm-hmm.
The grandmother put a relaxer in that baby's hair because she said that baby's hair wasn't done. I was like,
Mm.
ooh. And then sent the baby
Oh,
back. And then the father was, saying, well, she just thought it was best. I'm like, that is a little girl who was like 5 or 6, and you
right.
have done damage to her
Wrong.
hair. And everybody
Yep.
was telling her, go after the mama. And I told her, I said, I understand what you want. I said, but you need to tell the mother what she did was wrong. You need to tell your husband what he did was wrong. I said, but at some point, this is family now. You got to figure out how to keep the peace. And she wasn't trying to keep the peace. And I get it. But I say all that to say you have so many different issues in relationships. And so many people
So many.
are not happy. Not happy.
So
We
many. Listen,
and
look, I know. I
talk
know.
about it. Talk
Because people come to me with these stories.
so tell us
Look,
some of these stories, Fiat. Come on. Impart some wisdom.
listen, listen. You have no idea. That's why I said because I know we talked about it before. For a while, I didn't know what my purpose was. I didn't know why people were coming to me. I'm like, what? It's like I'm struggling too because initially this all came about when I was going through my divorce in 2013. So
Mhm.
I started vlogging about it because I
Mhm.
was going through so much pain, not necessarily pain from the divorce, but the divorce from not from him, but from
Mhm.
his family.
Yes.
I was really close to his mom and I was really close to his brother's wife. I
Mhm.
was sad about that. Not saying that I didn't love him, but it was just more so like I knew that we were in a relationship for the wrong reasons. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Mhm.
But so I started sharing my story about I'm healing. I'm healing. So I'm writing. I'm just telling stories. And then people started inboxing me. So I had people who were first ladies at churches inboxing me,
Wow.
saying things like they weren't happy, and people that you wouldn't think that weren't happy. So that's why I
Mm-hmm.
was just like, so many people wear masks, and that's what I'm like during this healing journey. I'm learning because what I do is observe people. I'm fascinated with human behavior, why people do
Mm-hmm.
the things they do, psychology. So without me being a psychologist, I read a whole lot about psychology and behavior. So I just started watching. So many people out here are faking.
Yeah.
There are so many people. So people were coming to me saying they weren't happy, and they were thanking me for giving them the courage to go and speak to their spouses about not being happy. So many people got divorces, left their spouses. People came out to me. People came out of the closet to me. People that were
Mm-hmm.
in heterosexual relationships were coming to me saying that they were in love with women. Some people came out to me. Some guys came out to me, were telling me that they like men. It was just crazy. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
You would think that I put a sign up saying, "Hey, come talk to me," like, $25 an hour. Come to me and tell me your troubles. No, I was just like,
Go.
and so they were just coming to me, just sharing their secrets, their deep secrets, and I'm sitting there with my notebook, like, what am I supposed to do with this? Do you know what I mean? And so then it became a they would tell me they would share their stories with me, and that I can share the story, but as long as they remain anonymous. So
Yes.
so I mainly just got a lot of women who weren't happy, but a lot of guys that would come to me telling me why they weren't happy, and it wasn't always necessarily about sex, but for the most part, it would be about because you know their wives won't do certain things in the bedroom, or
Mm.
there's this one lady who admitted that she had been married for like 25 years or so. She said that her husband, she doesn't get naked in front of her husband.
Wow.
And I mean, not just like she said, she doesn't get naked at all in front of him. Like she makes him turn the light off, and she keeps like certain, like a top on. But so those things that she said that she thinks is starting to affect the relationship. I'm like, I would think
Yeah.
so. So just different,
Mm-hmm.
different stories like that. So I would just take those stories in and then see where I can incorporate them into a story somehow. And then this one lady, again, been married 15, 20 years. They have two teenage daughters. And again, they post these pictures on Facebook. And she said that she and her husband haven't been intimate or had sex in 4 years. And that
Wow.
he kisses her on the forehead. Like when he leaves the house, he doesn't show any type of affection or anything. So she has just started going to therapy because it's starting to affect her, you know, how she sees herself, and that she's been
Mm-hmm.
having like suicidal thoughts and all of this because of that. And I'm just like, wait a minute, this is serious. Do you know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
that's unfortunate because we internalize that stuff and make it about us for whatever reason why we're staying there. So she's just like, I can't afford to not be here, and I don't make enough money, and I was just like,
Wow.
do you know what I mean? So my my mindset and the way I view things are different because I've gone through so much stuff. So I'm quick to, I mean, I can't just tell someone to throw away a 15, 20-year marriage, but at the same time I can if it's no longer serving you. If it's, you know what I mean, having you feel a certain way about yourself. If you are suppressing and denying yourself your needs and desires because of this man or whatever it is he's doing, like, is he
Mm-hmm.
not doing anything outside the marriage? That's the question. But so these are the stories. People just come to me, and it's not just only black women. It's white women. It's so I'm like, what? I met somebody in the line at a storytelling event. She just started talking to me, and we've been friends ever since. I don't know. So I was just like, okay, I have to do something. There's a commonality here. So I started sharing stories about women and sexuality and sensuality, because those are things that people find taboo to talk about. So that's why I'm always talking about sex in some capacity. When people will look at it like, oh, she's freaky, she's nasty. I'm like, it's so much deeper than that. Y'all just don't know. It's more so about intimacy and connection. So that's what my story is all about.
Mm-hmm. And I applaud you, because I'm gonna tell you. So the post that came up today in social media was, is marriage worthwhile for women?" And so you had women debating whether or not marriage was worthy. And a lot of women talked about how, women have so many responsibilities in the home and with the children and with everything else, that a lot of times it doesn't seem like it's a benefit to women. It seems more like it's a benefit to men. And it was an interesting conversation. So, framing that around everything that you just said, it is a conversation that's needed, because so many people, every time they do those studies that talk about how often people are having sex and what they're doing, I'm like, are people really telling you that information, or are they just saying some stuff because they think that's what you want to hear? I think they need to come
Right.
talk to you.
Listen, right. It's like, yeah. I don't know that people are having a whole lot of sex. I think it's more so about it's about the quality of these relationships. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? It's because somebody can have sex 4 or 5 times out of the week, but if is it being done out of duty and obligation more so than it is out of, oh, this is like passionate and something that is they want to do. Is it, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is the motivation behind it? And I'm finding that a lot of people are just really just going with the flow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I look at people in their relationships and I'm like, and I'm big on energy. So I call myself an what's the word I was calling it? Is it intuitive listener? Something I call myself. See, I forgot that fast. Because I'm really big on reading energy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And not saying that I'm like right all of the time, but the people that I have interacted with and gotten to know, I've been on point. I have really keen intuition.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to say that much. I mean, we can have a conversation and you think you're saying something, but I can read between a lot of. I really can really see through people, a lot of people.
And so I am so grateful that I guess you saw between the lines when I was telling you my story. And next thing I know, you was like, "Well, come down and tell your story." And I was like, "For real? Should I really?" And and one of the things, thank you for that, because you gave me courage to tell people
Oh,
that I was depressed, to tell people what it
you're
felt like,
welcome.
because for so long while I was going through it, people would tell you or tell me specifically, "Oh, you can't say that. We don't say things like that." Um, there are some mommy sites that I'm on, and there's one particular, and I won't name it, but they do a lot of confessions. And there's one mother who was just on recently, and she said, "I regret having children." And
Mm,
that's a conversation that no one wants to have.
nobody.
Nobody, nobody. And
Mm-mm.
and her story was sad because she has 2 children with ADHD and something else. So they had developmental um autistic on the spectrum disorders. Her
Mm-hmm.
husband, I believe, had something, but he wasn't necessarily as responsive to her. And she said, between the three of them, she said, "Some days I just sit at the kitchen table and I look out the window and wonder what my life could have been like
Wow,
without having to deal with all of this." And,
that's real.
it is real. It is
Mm-hmm.
real. When times are hard and difficult and tough, people say, "Oh, you got to lean in." I said, "Yes, it's true. Sometimes you do have to lean in, but sometimes leaning in can be real hard, and you can become bitter and angry because you're like, why do I have to deal with this?"
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
For women whose husbands have affairs, or as we joke about, had a whole family on the other side of town, and
The whole
somebody
family.
died and they show up at the funeral, and then you looking like, well, why do I have to do? I'm like, that's a hard thing to have to do. Or as a husband, you have a wife who can't get naked in front of you, who can't give you the intimacy that you're looking for, or doesn't,
For whatever reason.
right,
Yeah,
for
like
whatever reason. It could be trauma.
it
There's
could
probably
be.
some trauma there, and maybe, or some repression, because I've heard from, again, my Melanin Wives group is ripe with stories. One woman was like, I grew up in the church. I was always instructed to dress modestly. She said,
Mm-hmm.
I've just lost a lot of weight. She said, I'm feeling myself a little bit.
Yep.
But she said, but I'm going on vacation with another couple and my husband. She said, I love my husband, but she said, we don't dance sensually, or, fun stuff that you would do with your husband. Cause she said, it's going to be another man there. And I thought, why are you worried about him?
Why you remember that?
But I understand, because it being in the church, she is concerned about other people looking at her and what her actions might cause somebody else to do. And I always say, sometimes women
Mm-mm.
have to take the brunt of responsibility for making sure that men aren't attracted to them. You hear it when you go to church. Girl, don't you come up in here with no too short skirt
Listen,
on. Because
listen.
somebody gonna see them legs and if they do something to you, it's your fault. So we
Please don't talk. Please don't get me on this. Please don't. You
come on.
listen. No, look.
But you talk about healing though, Fiat. And that's the problem. And so many women are walking around with all this pain and hurt. They have children, specifically daughters. We've had,
Specifically,
and I'll tell you, in my family, so I have a brother. My brother could do whatever he wanted to, but I was a girl. And I was
you are
reminded that I was a girl.
that you are a girl.
I,
Mm-hmm.
he could go and spend the night at different places and do stuff. I couldn't do that. You're a girl. Well,
Mm-hmm.
why? I'm not, I'm, what am I doing? So you
Cause
make
you're a
it,
girl.
right, exactly. Like I have no control, or I don't have the brain power, or if something happens, it's got to be my fault.
Exactly. So you can't show legs, show skin because of what somebody else's reaction is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else's reaction is not my problem.
Mm-hmm.
How about they control themselves? So that's how I view things. I'm not about to listen. I'm not about to wear a skirt down to my ankles because somebody's man is going to look at me. Do you know that?
And I'm on vacation with my husband,
And I'm on vacation with my husband.
who I love. I'm being
Who
intimate with, and we gonna
listen
do some stuff. And I'm trying to
exactly
be cute and sexy for him.
for him,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't do that in public because somebody else may. So you want me to have all this garb on, covered up, so this other person won't look? Okay, no. Mm-mm.
And the sad part, and I'm not picking on women who wear hijab or burqa. They still get
Right,
attacked. They still get assaulted.
right,
So the reality is, if somebody wants to do something to you, they will do something to you.
exactly.
This is a true story. My husband was working for a company in downtown Detroit, and I was working for the city at the time. I had time in between meetings. So I stopped by where he was because he wanted to show me his new office. So I stopped by. I had on a skirt and a top and heels. I was covered up to my knees. I had on a short sleeve top, so it wasn't like, I had chest or cleavage or any of that out.
Mm.
But as an African American woman, I have a posterior.
Oh, you. Oh my goodness, you said that so professionally.
I did. I have a.
Because I was just like, what is a posterior?
Now you know.
Because I'm what?
Because that's what my grandmother would say.
You got a
I have a
posterior.
posterior. So
Okay, posterior. Okay.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
for those of you that don't know, it means you got a little bit of junk in the trunk. You have a little bit of booty. So
Yes, a little bit of booty. I
so
like it.
I can't help it.
Love it.
And whatever I put on, you're gonna see it.
Whatever.
whatever.
Whatever you put
So
on.
I guess with heels and, and I was professional. I had my bag with me, so it wasn't. And my husband told me later that a few of the guys were making comments about me, and he had to turn around and say, "That's my wife," and they were like, "Oh, my bad, dude. She beautiful. She gorgeous."
Listen, yep, sure is. Yep.
But I say that to say that because men are very visual, they see
Mm-hmm.
those things. Whereas women, we are visual, but like you said, we read between the lines, especially if we're intuitive, or we listen to what you say or how you treat us. If he opens the door, did he smell good? All those different,
Yep.
some intangible and some physical things re- relate to us more than some of the other stuff.
Right.
But it's just interesting because I see that in so many issues when women are talking, you know, because
Yeah.
there was another one. This woman was like, she told, so she's the mother of the child, the
Mm-hmm.
husband, the father of her child, the husband married another woman. The mother told the husband, I don't want you having sex in the house with my children when they come over to visit. Like that was a real conversation. I'm just giving you more fodder for your
Please, thank you. I need everything. I need it all
but
so that I can write that in. Yes, because it
but
all
I
goes back to people needing to heal
it does. It
because
does.
of things that are being brought upon us that's steeped in religion, tradition, um, misogyny, sexism, all of that.
Mhm.
They
Mhm.
putting all this stuff on us. Like, no, women got to do this to be this way, and you only got to be this way for your man. You can't be sexy for yourself. You can't do this. Nope.
Mhm. Mhm.
Watch me. Watch.
But it is. There are a lot of people that are wearing masks. There are a lot of people that are hurting.
So
And
many.
and because this is Women's History Month and we're talking about women's issues, and I've said this on several of my shows. Women have reported that they are taking on the brunt of, virtual school or educating those that are working from home now or trying to balance the two.
Mm-hmm.
They are picking up the slack in housework and other responsibilities. Because as I told somebody, I said, well, not everybody's at home. And so if you
Yeah.
have kids, because I do, my kids, mommy, can you make me, can you? And I'm like, can I finish my meeting first? Or, I'm on a
That's
call, give me 20
yeah.
minutes and I'll be done. I got you. But you got to give me the time.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's a
even
lot.
it is. And women have even said with their spouses being at home, like they'll just be on their Zoom call or whatever, and nobody goes to them. It's the age old, the kids will go right past daddy who's sitting on the couch and come all the way upstairs to mommy who's laying down and say, Mommy, can we have blah blah? And you like your father, you got a whole father downstairs who is fully capable to help you get whatever it is that you're trying to get. And they like, but we didn't want to ask him. We want to ask you. And my kids do that.
Listen,
They will
I
pass
believe
my
you.
husband, and I look at them. I'm like, why you ain't ask your daddy? We didn't want to ask,
Passed him twice over.
girl.
Stepped over his feet and everything to get up the stairs. Walked over his little legs that was crossed and came on upstairs.
Yes.
Oh, you have to watch the last episode of Happiness Ain't Everything.
Okay.
That's
Are you
listen.
talking
That's what.
about that?
See,
See, see.
see, because it's about like current stuff, current events, things that are going on in relationships, everyday life. But that's exactly what the last episode is about. So you got to watch it and let me know what you think.
I certainly will. So tell us, Fiat, what else is on the horizon for you?
Let me see. I'm really gonna go ahead, like head into my with the podcast because at first I was just doing it more so like a hobby,
Mm-hmm.
but after I got the announcement that it was like listed in the top 40 of memoir, like autobiographical podcasts, I was like, oh, I need to do something for real with this. You know what I mean? Because I'm just doing it, posting it, posting stuff twice a month. So I'm really gonna go really focus on that. And I'm just gonna do more like films. So I'm gonna finish this series out, this season out, because then it was, I ain't gonna say it was, but we decided to do a season two of Happiness Ain't Everything because of the feedback. So that's gonna keep me busy. That's what I'm doing. That's it.
Okay. So
That's
tell us
all.
where we can find you, Fiat, how we can see Happiness Ain't Everything, and how we can listen to your podcast.
Okay, so you can find me. I am very active on Facebook. So you can go to facebook.com and type in my name, Sophia Hollins. But let me see. Facebook, YouTube is where you can watch Happiness Ain't Everything. So you can just type in Fiat Hollins Presents, like the old school Alfred Hitchcock Presents. That's where I got it from. I used to love Alfred Hitchcock.
I do too.
So you could type in Fiat Hollins Presents, and then all of my videos will pop up. So Happiness and Everything is on there. What else did you say?
And then did you tell us about the podcast?
Oh, well, the
Yeah.
podcast is called Journey to Becoming a Memoir Podcast. It's on Anchor. Oh, that's another thing. Because even though it is on Anchor, I had to create another podcast of the same name because I was able to incorporate it onto my website, which
Ah,
makes it easier. So I can turn blog posts into podcast episodes.
mm-hmm. Sweet. Nice.
So you could type in Journey to Becoming on Anchor. Um, I'm trying to see if there's an easier way. So yes, you can go to anchor.fm/Fiat-Hollins.
Okay.
That's the new podcast for Journey to Becoming.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you, Fiat, for sharing with us about how happiness ain't
Thank you, Kim.
everything. I hope that
But it is. Right.
it truly is. I hope that people will tune in to your show and to the podcast. And I hope to have you back on soon so we can continue this fascinating conversation about filmmaking and how it mirrors life. It is truly a
It
fascinating
really
conversation.
does.
Thank
I'll
you.
be glad to come back on. I love coming on the show.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you guys for watching the Kim B. Davis Show. I am your host, Kim B. Davis. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, and TikTok. Kimberly Bachelor is
Everywhere.
spelled Batchelor Davis. There is no hyphen. You can also check me out on my website at kimbdavis.com. You can find the Kim B. Davis Show on YouTube. So youtube.com/. Kimberly Bachelor Davis. And you can also find me on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, and Google. Hope to see you soon. And as always, remember, be magnificent.